Hey everybody, welcome to our very first episode of Beyond Influence Live. I am super excited. We have with us today Sara Uy.
Hey
Sara,
guys.
how are you?
I'm good. Well, now I feel very honored now. I didn't know this was your first in person. I'm like, wait, now the pressure's on, but I'm so happy that we're in person. This is great.
I know, it's like real people. You exist in real life.
I
We've
know.
got 20 episodes on to season 2. And yeah, we've been saying we need to get in the studio. We need to get live. So it's
Yeah,
great
the
to have
studio's
you.
great. Yeah, no,
Yes.
thanks for having me, guys. This was awesome.
100%. The vibe is all different. I think our initial encounter was pretty funny to me. I remember reaching out to you because
I was like, why is he reaching out to me? And I asked you that.
yeah, you were like, why?
Why?
But apparently you're making your way around the internet and people really enjoy your content. And so I love that for you. I'm very happy.
Thank you.
What made you want to start creating content?
Honestly, it was kind of a little bit of like an accident and kind of like a lonely time. That sounds like kind of dark, but it's really not that dark. But basically, I was an SDR during COVID and I was on a very slim team and I was the only SDR at one point. And what my company does, we actually do recruitment for sales roles for companies that are looking to hire salespeople. So I was literally cold calling sales leaders, trying to get them to take salespeople when they were laying off their entire teams during COVID. So it was so hard. It's already like really discouraging to be an SDR at times. So like the fact that I was just like getting nothing was really tough. So I started just recording myself, and I'm also an only child. So I was like cold calling in my room, like alone, like a weirdo. So I started recording myself and posting it on TikTok, and lo and behold, thank God I did, because I feel like I've created a really good sales community, but also there already was a huge sales community that I didn't know about. So it's like so nice to, that's how we're meeting. Like that's how I've met so many people in the last year. So it's like a small community, but it's so niche, but it's like everyone has your back. Everyone's so supportive. So it's really cool.
So I'm curious, you're recording yourself, in your room. And where was the first time you like shared a call? Or you were like, this is gold. I have to share this with people.
I don't even think it was like for a while, to be honest. Like once I went back into the office, we were in a WeWork that's right across the street from here, which is so weird because I was like, oh wow, my old stomping grounds when I walked in. And I would cold call in like the telephone booths in a WeWork, and I started sharing them there. And that probably wasn't until like 12 months after I posted like the first video. So like I kind of posted for a little bit. Took like a year and a half from like not even being on the app, which I do regret, but went back to it, and it's just some of the craziest stuff that you hear on a cold call, and then realizing other people on the internet are actually relating what you're going through. I was like, wait, there's other people out there that are also getting cursed out every single day. I love this. But yeah, it's all fun and games.
Yeah. I know we dove right into the what made you start content creating, and then it got us to the cold calling aspect of things. But I guess we'll take a quick step back and take a moment to just tell the people who Sara is.
Oh man, that's hard. I feel like it's like the biggest icebreaker. But so Sara, I'm from Long Island, born and raised, played soccer my whole life. So I think even the other night I said to you, I'm like, I know you play soccer. I watch soccer like all the time. Played college soccer at Fairfield University in Connecticut. So I'm a tri-state girl, have not left. It's like a magnet, but moved to New York City after I played college soccer. And I was really lucky actually, because a lot of my high school, my college friends are also in the city as well. My husband, who I met through college soccer, he also played at Fairfield, is from Long Island. So we lucked out. I feel like sometimes when you meet people and you get into a relationship with someone in college, someone's from like California and the other person's from New York. So we got really, really lucky. But moved into the city about 2 years after graduating just because COVID. It's a bit of a weird time, but been here since and been in sales for 5 years. I'm like kind of a weird one. I knew I wanted to get into a sales role. I interned a lot for like my mom as a kid and went to like some of the trade shows, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. But I knew I wanted to get into a role where I could just like be really competitive, my competitive self, played, sports my whole life, and I wanted to make a lot of money. And I was like, you know what? this is how I'm going to have to support that. So that's pretty much led me to this moment. And I've been at Pareto for the last 5 years, but I did just announce that I was leaving like literally 2 days ago. So it's bittersweet.
Breaking news, America.
Breaking news. Bittersweet, but timing's right. I feel really at peace with it, and I'm going to start my own company. So I'm going to launch that on Monday.
Wow.
That's exciting. Yeah, we're stoked for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's funny just thinking about, being in your bedroom, recording these calls, sitting on this like treasure trove of
Literally.
like funny conversations. And so I was asking the question, now you're leaving Pareto. Mm-hmm. How are you going to cold call? Like, what's your next move? Because I was like, I would need something to pitch. I would need to go out and be able to sell. So I'm curious what your next move is.
I already have my new pitch written down on a page called Vision. Really deep, really deep. It's not that deep. If you saw the Google sheet, you'd be like, what the hell is this? I'm like the least technical person ever. So I just write stuff down when I think about it.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm going to be cold calling like for myself, because I'm going to have to be, doing lead gen. Like it's just me, like one woman show right now. But yeah, I mean, I put my pitch together. I feel really confident. So I'm definitely going to still be posting my cold calling videos. But it's funny because I think one comment that I get a ton on my social media is like, you're a sales director. Like, why are you cold calling? Mm-hmm. And I have always been a person that's like, do it and like show everyone else like that they can do it too. And like, it doesn't matter how senior you are to get the job done. I think everyone needs to have their part in new business when you're in sales, whether you're a VP, a director, an SDR. So you're never above anyone. Also, it only benefits me at the end because, when you're doing your self-generated deals, it feels so good when like you did the whole thing and you brought it in. And of course, the support is great too, but it feels really good. So I'm now going to have to be cold calling as a founder, I guess. So now I'm really going to get more of those comments. You're a founder. Why are you cold calling? I'm like, well, I can't afford to pay anyone to do it. So here I am.
It is funny. I support that 100%. Mm-hmm. And I actually have 30-minute calling blocks every day.
There you
Even
go.
as CEO,
I love that.
I'm like, I'll pick up the phone, I'll dial, I'll make it happen, make the connection happen. And it's amazing how people respond.
It really is.
Because like they would never expect you to call and they're like, oh man, you're calling me? You're like interested in the deal. And there is a weird thing in that role. They'll be very honest with you. And they're not going to give you like the push off of like, oh, I got budget or I have this. They're like, oh yeah, like I need to go talk to my boss and I'm getting pushback here. Mm-hmm. And it's just that, the transparency of human connection over the phone. Like you can't get that in email. You can't get that other ways. So I'm a full supporter of hitting the phones.
Me too.
Every role. Yeah. Strong recommend.
Yeah. I think Scott and I recently, we consistently talk about taking ownership, right? Like everyone in an organization everyone's a seller.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. From top to bottom, the CEO all the way down to, the data analyst, right? Because at the end of the day, you are part of an organization, part of a company, and you're like, I love this place. If you really do enjoy it and you really want to be good at your job and you really care about it, you are always selling. And so everybody has part of this. When you're in this group, it really it helps you align. It helps you really stay focused. And I think staying on the thought process of groups, do you have anybody that you either draw inspiration from or people who have worked with you along your journey to get to this point?
Oh my God, so many people. And this is going to sound cliche because I feel like a lot of people pick a parent, but it's definitely my mom. So she's the CEO. She is a boss. Like there are days where I'm like, holy, can I curse on here? No.
Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want.
Holy shit, she is a boss ass woman. And I was like, you get a little intimidated, and then you're like, wait, that's my mom. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
She's like the epitome of like the perfect role model. And so many people are kind of always just like, oh, why don't you just go work for her? Or, why don't you just take over? And I'm not really motivated by what she does, but good for her. She kills it. However, she's always the one that's like cheering me on to be like, do your own thing, like do what you're passionate about. Even when she found out like she was having a girl, she was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have like this dancer, this girly girl to have to go shopping with and this and that. And then next thing she knows, she's at like the soccer shop in my town buying cleats. And she's like, what the hell? Like, I just did not expect this. But she has never once like been like, you should do this because I'm doing this, or, you know, I did this and that's why you should be doing this. She's always like, find your own path and like, you know, find what works for you and find the person who you're really motivated and inspired to be. So she's really pushed me to like do my own thing and be my own person. And I think in a place or in a family where there is a family business or this and that, typically, and I'm only saying typically, but I think a lot of people or kids feel pressured to go into it and like not explore themselves and not explore maybe something else that they're really passionate about. So I'm really lucky that, you know, she's someone that I could look at and someone that can push me to find my own self and, you know, not be in a shadow and just do my own thing. So she is my inspo. She is awesome. She's also a great friend too. So now I can say that because I'm older. Anytime I was like, oh my God, you're like my best friend. She's like, you're not old enough to say that. But now I am. So
that's amazing. It's funny, like as a parent too, it's like this constant, am I forcing my kid to do this thing, or, you know, are they going to want to be like me? Does that matter? And it's like, you know, feel this constant stress of like, am I leading them in the right direction? Am I leaving enough free will, but also like encouraging them to work hard? I laughed so hard. I was like, I don't know what kid goes to a trade show and it's like, this is the coolest thing ever. But I was like, you're definitely wired in a way like that's maybe
you
different.
guys are probably like, what did she just say? She had fun at a trade show.
I'm just imagining like little Sarah in like a pantsuit, just like, I'm ready to take on the world.
Imagine a
like,
pantsuit on a 12-year-old. That was literally
goodness.
me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
she's like, can I scan your code real quick?
yeah, like, what was I doing? I don't know. I'm like, hi, I work for Sunrise. And they're like, are you 4?
Do you need help?
Yeah, do you need help? Are you in the wrong place? Like, no. And that's all I said too. I had no idea what was going on, but I was just like, this is really cool. I think I just like talking to people at the end of the day. So it was just nice to like meet really high up people at such an early age. So yeah.
It's funny. We talk a lot about people who are great at cold calling and people who are great at trade shows. Like, I like talking to people enough, but cold talking to 1,000 people who I have no reason to talk to, I'm like, give me an intro. Be like, hey, this is Sara from Pareto.
Yeah.
You should meet her. I'm like, okay, good. That's enough prompt. But just being like, hi, who are you? I'm Scott. Like, it's just amazing. And I admire the people who can just strike up a conversation, zero fear, zero anything. And I think about, you know, you talked a lot about being an SDR during COVID. We talk a lot about the support system of an SDR team for like morale, mental health.
Yes.
Just, you know, you're getting told to pound sand all day long, being berated, and being able to like turn left and be like, that sucked. That was really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of why the content resonates, because like you're becoming almost their outlet, their friend, their like emotional support. Because like, Sara got told off, she's still happy, and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, you make such a good point, because it really does take a toll on like your mental health sometimes. And especially when you're not hitting your targets and goals, and then you're not getting anyone on the phone. You're like, am I actually even good at this? Like, and you start questioning if you can actually even be in sales and be in a position where you can earn uncapped commission and earn a lot of money. And it's really demotivating. And to be honest, this is kind of a shout out to everyone that has made videos and tagged me in it and said like, I was inspired to make this from Sara from Pareto, so here I go, because that also helps me, because I'm like, all right, I didn't cold call today, but now I'm thinking about picking up the phone because everyone else is doing it. So in return, like, I'm just as inspired when I see other people do it now. And it definitely wasn't a thing. But now on my For You page, I just scroll and I'm like, oh my God, cold calling. And it's so cool to see. And I've definitely made some cool connections that way as well on TikTok. So you're exactly right. You really need a support system in this role. And I think for all the managers out there that like haven't been an SDR before, like, be a little bit nicer to them this week, because they deserve it. They deserve it. They're going through a lot, but it's so important to have a team behind you, or even just someone in the organization you can look up to, vent to, like, you know, because it is hard. I talked to a CEO one time and he was like, the hardest role is not mine in my organization. It's my SDRs. Yeah, he was 100%. Like, they have the hardest job in the organization. And that was coming from a CEO. Yeah. So it's hard.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I think if you can survive that life too, you can do just about anything.
Anything. Yeah,
because you just have this like relentless passion, fearless, and you also get to talk to all of the prospects and customers. You know what works, you know what doesn't, you know how to talk about the product, you know how to talk about all the various use cases. And so like we talk a lot about BDRs should be the future of the entire company. and they should go into every area because
I agree.
And I think like it doesn't need to just be sales. You can also go into marketing because you're going to know how to talk about the product, how to pitch it. You're going to be really resonating with what the customer challenge is. So I think it's cool. I think BDRs, I think almost everyone should start and like have that experience. That or like a customer support, just hearing what it's like to actually use the product and try to solve problems for people. It's super valuable.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think promotion internally, when you start somewhere and you can learn the foundations and occasionally get rocked on the phone.
Occasionally, just occasionally.
You know, I think it's such important character building to help aid in taking ownership as you go through your journey. I started as a BDR, SDR at Zoom Info, and I remember picking up the phone and like feeling so flabbergasted, you know, for the longest time. Like, you know, it's
I still
funny,
get
like,
it on some days. I'm like, why do I have butterflies today? I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, what's going on?
It's so crazy. And I think it's really funny. People would always say like, oh, with your personality, you should be like confident. You know, like I'm confident in certain settings, but I think anybody who has to pick up a phone and feel like they're interrupting someone's day, that can be really difficult. And when you think about the growth through an organization, the fact that you start from the ground and, you know, you now are emerging into your own company, like what would you say is, you know, the most important thing that you learned along that journey?
I think like the one thing that I learned the most is just to worry about yourself and don't care about the noise around you. Because I think when I started posting, a lot of my friends didn't have TikTok. They're going to hate me for saying this. I always call them old. They're only like 6 months to 12 months older than me, but they don't have TikTok. Like we're in that generation where we're just the 6 months to 12 month people that are older than me don't have it. So it was easier for me to post because I knew no one was seeing it that I knew. But obviously they've been a huge support. Like they absolutely love that I'm gunning for it. But obviously there's a lot of people that judge you for it. And like, you know, they're like, what is she doing? And you hear people that say, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so and she was just like so confused, like why you're doing all this posting and this and that. And I think like, thank God I stuck with it. Just like have the courage to keep going, even when you like don't think it's going anywhere. I've had that thought so many times and like, thank God I just kept going. And so just worry about yourself, stay motivated. As long as you like still love what you're doing, that's really important too. Because the last thing you want to do is get stuck in doing something for someone else, but you don't actually enjoy what you're doing. You got to be really passionate about it. And if you're passionate about something, follow it and don't care about what anyone else thinks.
I think it's an amazing point. It's funny. I recently got blasted on a Glassdoor review over the podcast and social, and it was really comedic because it's like this new CEO comes in, wants to be internet famous, creates this podcast with a reality TV guy, and I'm like,
sounds about
we're having amazing conversations with creators. We're like discussing it with brands. We're able to interact with our community. They're all reaching out, and in today's age, to go out and build brand, it's not just pushing out blog posts anymore or like creating content on Substack or something. And I think we're literally a social media and internet company. And I'm like, the fact that we wouldn't go pursue that. And it is funny because I had that moment where I'm like, should we stop doing it? Should we like bag this thing? But then it's all the positive response that we get. It's all the hey, this really resonated with me. And the coolest story, we had an employee. I was in the Boston office and she walked up and she goes, hey, I have to introduce myself. And I was like, great to meet you. And she's like, I was a fan of the podcast and I applied and I joined and I'm super excited. And I was like, okay, worth it. Yeah, no. And it was like one of those moments. So I think everyone has those little worth it moments. Like they get the message or that post where it's like they cold call and they're like, I'm going to create content too, or I'm going to stick this out. I think those are the moments where you're like, okay, it's worth it. And I'm just going to shed the noise. I'm going to like move on and be reassured what I'm doing is the right path.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. This morning I post we're Friday cold calling people every Friday on my LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become like my new favorite social media.
Okay.
It's really making like a really cool turn and like really starting to accept like influencer marketing and influencers. And I just think it's really awesome. But this morning I always usually post like around 9 to 9:30, like my cold calling video for Fridays. And obviously I was a little hungover this morning. I told you guys when I walked in, I was like, I'm a little hungover today. Went out with Pareto a little bit too hard last night, but I ended up making a video later than I usually do, and I posted it around 12:30 right before I came down here to meet you guys. And someone had commented right away and was like, I've been waiting for this video since like 8 to 10 a.m. this morning. I was so nervous that you weren't going to post it. Like, I watch these every Friday. They really motivate me to make my Friday cold calls. And I was like, oh my God, I guess thank God I posted. But like, those are the worth it moments. They truly are, where you're like, oh, thank God awesome. I did it. So
yeah, I think it's so cool when you just take, and we talked to a creator, Jade Beeson, not too long ago. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that she gave about content creation in general was like, do something that you're passionate about just because you're passionate about it. And then if you can turn that into content creation, like that's, yeah, you know what I mean?
That's the goal.
That's the goal. And the fact that like, you just care about what you're doing. It just so happens you can also turn it into this other career that has now emerged into this beautiful thing. So I think following your passion is the most important thing. And you know, we all have different niches. Like, you know, I wish I could be more of a fashion content creator. You know, I feel like I say this every podcast. I'm hoping.
Well, if we're choosing what we want to be, I would like to be on the U.S. Women's National Team and then do like cool Nike commercials and like. But I wasn't good enough, so.
Right, but like. It is really cool taking something that you love and then turning it into something that other people, you know, follow you for and admire you for. I think like that's such a beautiful part about content creation. And I'm excited to see more people show their passions. And you see people go out and do stuff and it go viral just about every day because they just go out there, they put themselves out there. So putting yourself out there, doing it about something that you're passionate about, it seems to be that magic that comes together.
Yeah, people know when you're passionate too and like when you're not. So it's like, I think the authenticity behind it as well. It's like you get drawn to someone's passion and like that's why you end up making a community because like they see how much you care about it. So they're like, I want to care that much about it, which is great. But it's exactly what you're saying. So
yeah, I mean, I guess now to transition, or maybe not even transition, but just like start getting really into the influencer marketing side of things. You know, you've obviously been creating content for a little bit now. You are now transitioning into your own company, now becoming a CEO. Have you gotten any, you know, opportunities that have spurned from your content creation, that being partnerships with brands or so on and so forth?
Yeah, which has been so awesome because I never thought in a million years. Like I remember when I got my first PR package and I was like, what? Me? I was like, what the hell? But yeah, I've worked with a lot of lifestyle brands, which I think has allowed me to stand out a little bit on LinkedIn because I'm doing the corporate B2B influencer stuff, but I'm also doing lifestyle. And I think it definitely helps living in New York because I just feel like there's so many opportunities here. It's like you open your door every day and there's a new opportunity. So I'm like so grateful and blessed to be here. But yeah, I actually ended up working with a ton of lifestyle brands within the last 12 months. And I've actually been able to incorporate it to make it like corporate content too. So like I've worked with like a few bag brands and clothing brands. So it's like what you wear to work, what are you wearing to the office in the fall and the summer. And then also just like I do so many days in the lives, like, and people actually love that. And I love watching other people's day in the life. I'm so curious. I'm like, what can I incorporate into my routine? But like, even I was filming when I walked in here, I'm like, sorry guys, I'm doing a day in the life. But that allows me to pull lifestyle brands and corporate because I'm in the office, but I'm also sharing like what I do, like as a 9-to-5, like corporate girl that lives in New York City and goes out at night to, you know, an XYZ event or just like a dinner with my girlfriends. And that leads to a very like relatable side, I think, because at least for me, when I see people doing that, I'm like, okay, wow, like we have a lot of similarities here. But like, again, what can I incorporate into my routine? It's just like really cool to see someone else's perspective in a very similar life that you're living.
I love that. And I think LinkedIn is making a huge shift. And I think more people like you who are relatable, bringing a new generation. Because I think people want to go to LinkedIn to see relatable professional content, but they don't want to see endless chat GPT generated, like blog posty style stuff.
That was hot for like a minute.
Yeah. So it's actually interesting. We've been working a lot with the LinkedIn team. We're actually going to have their product leadership on the podcast.
No way.
And they're actually, if you look in your app, you'll see the video button at the bottom, and now it's like the For You page. So the UI of LinkedIn will become much more like what you're used to seeing in a TikTok or
I think that's
Instagram.
so good.
Yeah, and then they're opening the doors for influencer marketing, ad content within. And I think it's going to be a whole new day for LinkedIn.
I do too.
Like as someone who is more kind of business corporate leaning, there is some of that on TikTok but LinkedIn is my home network. Like that's where like I spend the majority of my time. And so I also want to share content, but I'm so tired of writing crappy blog post style or like really reflective, like on your journey, like you all have a setback. And I just don't want to write that content. And
we could have a whole podcast about like the cheesy LinkedIn posts that we've all seen. And yeah.
But I think there's going to be a new day. It's going to be really cool. And then, it's funny, as a B2B marketer, I was searching for ways to leverage LinkedIn, leverage influencer, and it was just the whole thing wasn't there. The APIs weren't there. The influencers weren't there. The brands weren't ready. So now we have some APIs. The whole format's shifting. The influencers are there, and it's fun to see it happen. I'm like, I think you're right on the moment of inflection where I think someone like you or others can be able to capitalize in a huge way and be first in.
So I hope so. But seeing the shift is so cool because it's literally happening right now, which is really cool to talk about. So
and you're part of the people that are leading that charge. It's interesting when we talk about cheesy LinkedIn stuff. I remember back in the day, I was definitely a cheesy LinkedIn person. But I was okay with that. I was writing a lot about my experience and like the things that motivated me and bringing that all together. And I think it was a cool part of my journey into becoming a bit more understanding. I went from SDR into leadership. And throughout that journey, like there were a lot of points in time where I had, cold feet or imposter syndrome, or I just like didn't really feel like I was ready for it. And, talking about that through LinkedIn actually helped me really, it garnered community, and so it's really funny seeing all these things like they come together when you think about the growth that you're having, the community that you're bringing in. You're giving and they're learning from you, but a lot of times you're learning from them as well. Yeah. And that is super cool. And I think we are hitting a point where I'm very excited to see the next phase of LinkedIn and creating and being able to like be more goofy and original, right?
Yeah.
Because like Scott, I think you said this on one of our episodes, is like everyone is really weird.
That's true. Yeah. I'm so weird.
Yeah.
And my friends are going to watch this and be like, finally, you admitted it.
Right? It's like everyone is really weird. It just a matter, like the main thing is how much of their weirdness they're willing to share. And in the part of society, in the year that we're in the current generation, people show so much of their weirdness. And I think that's so cool. We're allowing our weirdness into so many other parts of our life. And it's making everyone more comfortable and vulnerable.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that people are being more weird and being more themselves because I'm, like I just said, really weird. So I feel more comfortable being able to share, like if I'm super goofy on TikTok or I make a mistake, I just post it now because I'm like, this is so way more relatable than like a scripted, XYZ type of post where you sound really robotic and you don't really sound authentic or, human. And at the other end of the spectrum too, like in sales, like people buy from people. So, they're not gonna, buy from the person that sounds super, super salesy and isn't, genuine and isn't building trust and a true relationship. So it's all about being yourself, and clients are weird too. So like, just be yourself. Like they will buy from you. Just like build a relationship and be yourself.
It's so funny. I feel like COVID was like the grand reveal.
Yeah.
It was like,
it really was.
We're all going from our offices and our like blue shirts and everything. And it's like, I'm in your bedroom now. And I'm like, whatever, like decor, the walls, like people's dress change, just their whole demeanor is like, I don't know if this is going to like, we're all done or if like, I'm just going to like let it all out. And it was like this steep acceleration and like letting the weird out. And it was, some of it was not great, but like most of it was like,
I agree.
Okay, like now I really understand. And it's cool too, because like we work with some major brands and I'm like, this is the dude that runs like all of marketing for this person. He's like in a Hawaiian shirt in like some part of his house. And I'm like, he's freaking awesome. And I'm like, I never would have saw this because you would have seen him and you're like, that guy, like, he's like trying to wear like a suit and doesn't really work. You're like, what is that guy's story? And you're never going to get it unless you like really get to know him. But now you're like, I know exactly who that guy is. Like,
yeah. I think one of the coolest things about where we've gone to is with adding like to the normalcy of things and the weirdness of it all. It lets people know that the degrees of separation between us aren't that vast, right? It used to be whenever I thought about rich people, I thought about like some guy who put on a suit and got in his Mercedes and got to the office at 6 a.m. and like, you know, just stood there and had meetings and just like drew up on the board, like kind of like Mad Men. You know what I'm saying? I was like, in my head, I was like, those are the only rich people on earth. Yeah. You know, and now you see people who are just like able to just be themselves, and you're like, oh, this guy's a nerd too. You know what I'm saying? Like in every way, like we relate to each other. Like it shows representation at a cool 360 degree level. It shows everybody that they are capable of what everyone else is doing as well. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I feel like I'm in a few networking group, and sometimes we do a lot of events in the city or here, there, and everywhere. And, you know, sometimes I meet people, and sometimes someone will come up to my shoulder and be like, oh, that's so-and-so. And I'm like, no way. Like, what? And I'm like, isn't he worth like millions? Yeah. Or isn't she worth like millions? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no way. She's like in a really cute Lululemon workout set. I love that. Like, and it's just so much more relatable though when people aren't trying to be like super flashy, and they're just trying to be themselves, and they're weird too. So it's great.
It's like I love, and I there are mixed reviews, but like the whole Zuckaissance or like the Zuck rebrand, I'm like, I'm so here for it. He's like wake surfing, and he's got curly hair and like chains. I'm like,
oh my. Wait, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh my gosh, he's like a whole different person, because like. Everyone's like the AI robot thing, and now he's just sitting there. He's in like Hoka's or something, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, like we're just gonna build cool stuff." And he's like so chill. He's doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he's like,
"You're probably like, yeah, we are gonna build cool stuff."
I was like, I like this guy. I would go for a beer and like, yeah. I'm like the pinnacle of it. He was like wake surfing in like a tuxedo with an American flag. It was just like so wild. And then he's like threatening to fight Elon Musk and like I was like, this is where like. Yeah, I can't tell if it's quite idiocracy or if it's like something I love, but it might be in the middle. I don't know.
You know, it's funny too. Like you were like, oh, I'd go for a beer with him. Like I say that about a lot of people in my head. Like I'll meet them and I'm like, would I go for a beer with them? Would I sit down at a pub and go for a beer with them? I'd be like, yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good gauge, right? Like I feel like that should be the new like. Should we hire this person?
Yeah, know? Literally.
Like, would I go for a beer with them?
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's a good test. The beer test.
100%. So I mean, you've worked with a couple brands now. You're building your brand. You are becoming this, you know, very, very well-known figure, and you've had a couple partnerships that you've worked through. Have you had any partnership that was just like it really resonated with you and you really loved what you got to do?
Yeah, so I did a campaign with Elf Cosmetics, and the whole entire purpose of their campaign was to showcase women in corporate and moving up the corporate ladder. And I loved that because I was like, lifestyle, like I use Elf products, like I put makeup on every day to go to the office, but like at the same time, like this is me, like in real life, like I'm trying to climb the corporate ladder. Like I want to be respected. Like I want to be taken really seriously. And I think sometimes in business, when you're young, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. It's really hard to be taken seriously. So I remember like when I turned 25, I was like, this is the year I'm going to be taken seriously. And I know that sounds like so silly, but in my head, I was like 25. Like that sounds legit. Like that sounds pretty good. Like, but 24, I'm like, no one's going to take me seriously at 24. And now I'm 27, and I feel like 25, 26, and now 27 were the years where I'm like, I want to be respected. I want to build a good reputation, and like I want to be taken seriously in the workplace as a woman. So that campaign really resonated with me because I spoke about while doing like a get ready with me and putting my makeup on for the office as to like the percentages of women in the workplace and how many get promoted and what women make versus what men make in corporate. So that campaign I thought was like so cool because it really blended like the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah, I love that. We were talking about that actually at dinner the other night, and we had one of our female employees, and she just like unprompted came up and just said like, I love that I can be a woman in this company and not feel like there's any hindrance to me being successful or that I'm gonna have like these interactions that are super negative. And I think like, I take for granted sometimes that that's the way it should be. But then you just still hear these stories where it's like prejudice, bias, or just outright bad behavior. And even at the conference I'm walking by and it's like, oh, I got hit on by these 5 dudes and it was just insufferable. And I'm like, that shit's still happening in like nearly 2025 is wild to me. And as like a husband, as a dad of a daughter, I'm like, it just sucks. Like, and I think it doesn't need to be that way. And so I love that brands are helping to push that, helping to support that while they're promoting their products and engaging with influencers like you to help tell that story and convey that message. So I think it's important. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I think society follows the money, to put it simply. At the end of the day, we want to listen more to the people who are writing the checks. And so at this level, the brands are able to push out messages based off of, who they're able to work with, what kind of partnerships they can create and what kind of money they can put out into society. And the cool thing about what a lot of brands are doing is they're putting their money into creating a web of respect and equality and inclusion. And I think that that's so important. And I think we do have an extremely long way to go, right? We really do. We're so much further back than sometimes it feels, because when you walk out into the world and you look to your left and to your right, it feels like everything is normal and everything is okay, right? But I think everyone has experiences within their day that remind them in just a moment. It could be a literal 3-second moment that you're just like, oh yeah, we're not quite there yet. So I'm happy that brands are joining in and working on making sure that we're all headed towards the right direction. Yeah, that was definitely a really cool one that resonated with me. And what's funny is too, I'm just like thinking about like my office and my workplace, and Pareto is 11 women in our office and 3 men. And every day I'm like, we got to get more guys in here, which is like not something that you would think about. And then last year, so our parent company is Randstad, but we do like a launch every year, like every company typically does. And there was actually a report that said that women at Pareto or Randstad / both were actually making more by a certain percentage. Wow. So I was like, wow, that's actually really cool that I'm a part of this company, and I didn't even know that statistic. So that was really cool. But again, it's just like we have a long way to go, but I think I've at least seen and have been lucky enough to be a part of a company that's like 100% taking steps in the right direction, and if not exceeding them. So it's really cool. That's amazing. So I'm curious on the brand front, if there was one brand that was like, if they reached out tomorrow, this would be like the best day of my life, like this aspirational brand. You said Nike and the women's soccer team, but I'm curious what that brand is for you. Oh my God. This is going to sound like probably not that big to a lot of people, but probably like JetBlue. Oh. That is so random. Oh. I really threw you guys for one. Why JetBlue? That's a first for JetBlue. Because I'm going to land somewhere nice, and I'm going to go on a nice trip, and I love flying JetBlue. I don't know what it is, but every time I land, I'm like, I'm in Europe, I'm here, I'm there. I was comfortable the whole flight. Everyone was nice to me, and I love to travel. So I'm like, you know what? I could kind of see the correlation. In my mind, I already have it planned out because I have been thinking about this for quite some time, even though I know this is like a real throw off. But I'm like going to my meeting, like going to meet like this top client, and like I need to fly there. So I'm going to fly JetBlue, and I'm going to do like my get ready with me on the plane, how like these aesthetic girlies do these days. I'm not aesthetic, by the way. Like anytime I go to do one of these videos, like especially on the plane, because I have tried recently, like I guess the pressure of the plane just explodes all my makeup products when I'm in the air. So I'm like going to pull out a makeup product, and I'm like, oh my God, just forget it. Like literally forget it. But that's how I picture the video to be, like day in the life. I'm getting on JetBlue, I'm flying first class, which would be more than ideal. I'm doing the get ready with me. I land, I meet with this client, I close the best deal in my life, and then I fly home. We're gonna make this happen. We gotta make this happen. JetBlue, where you at? I got the credit card. I keep the blankets. I really got to get rid of those. Like that's disgusting. But JetBlue, it's my dream collab. That is awesome. JetBlue has been slowly conditioning you. They make sure that every time you get on, you go to a nice place. I tag them on every post too. Yeah. And recently, I went to the Taylor Swift concert in August with my mom, my cousin, and my aunt. We flew to London to go see it. Nice. And my mom surprised me with like first class tickets. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I was like, first time ever. And I haven't flown first class since, probably won't. But
they like liked my story, and I was like,
Ooh.
oh my God.
Yeah. That's
like we're one step closer to the dream.
Everyone's going to be watching this right now and is going to be like, girl, like I could think of 80 more million really cool collabs that you could do, but JetBlue's the one.
We love to see it. We love to see it. You know, we have a segment where we do a quick rapid fire. We call it, you know, just a little this or that.
Yeah.
I'll give you two options. You pick one and you give me a short little blurb about why.
Okay.
Yeah, you think you're okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So, for you, TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram, believe it or not, even though I post all my videos on TikTok and that's where mostly I have my following, but Instagram, because I feel like it's like my personal diary. Like my very first post was 2012 when Instagram, I think, came out, and it was of the Fairfield University locker room when I went on like my unofficial visit, and I still remember the caption and everything. It was just Fairfield with like a red heart, and that was the day where I was like, I want to get recruited, like I want to play at Fairfield. So that happened, and then you can see my whole entire journey at Fairfield for 4 years. I just feel like it's like my personal diary, you know?
Yeah.
Like I would hate to lose that.
Dope. Okay, cool. Well, short-term or long-term partnership?
Long term, for sure. I think just building relationships is like what I love to do. I feel like we've kind of talked about this the whole day today, but definitely long term, because then you're going to keep working with people that you really love.
Yeah. All right. So would you want to do a story or a grid post?
Ooh, I'm a story like fanatic. Like I have 20 stories up on my Instagram at all times. Like if you need to find me, just look at my Instagram story. You could definitely probably track me down, which is probably not the most safe thing to say.
All your friends are like, where's Sarah? Okay, just like.
Oh yeah, like, they probably know I'm here. Like yeah, I posted that I was here. So
Okay, and then the last one, short term or long term for your content?
Oh,
Or short form.
What do you mean?
Short form or long form for your content?
Like short videos or long videos?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think most of my videos are pretty much between like 2 to 3 minutes, just because the cold calling ones takes a while to film. So probably long form, just because it just so happens to be longer than shorter.
Yeah.
Like no reason, but just works out that way.
Okay.
So I have to ask on your content, and it's like I've been thinking about this the whole time. What is the one like particular call or moment where you were like, this is the craziest, like wild experience?
Yeah.
Like crazy call.
Yeah.
So I have two that come to mind, but I would say the craziest one was when I called a CEO, and basically he answered and he was like screaming, and he was like, oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I have 2 seconds. Like what's going on? And here I am. I'm like, okay. And I hear like the panic in his voice. So I start panicking. So I start pitching. I'm like, like trying to go like so fast. And he's like, my wife, like she's in labor. And I was like, wait, like what the hell? I was like, I don't know what to do. And like, now I'm like speaker, and like the whole team is like, oh my God, like, what can we do? What can we do? Turns out like this guy like has like a prank recording like for cold callers. And it's just like this massive game. But like I was on the phone for like a solid 15 minutes, and it's a long ass recording. Let me tell you, like I heard like them give birth. Like I heard the crying of the kid when it was born. And I literally thought it was real, but people were calling him back, and it was the same recording.
That's so crazy.
Which was crazy, because just in the moment as a brand new SDR, you're like, oh my God, like what can I do? And like, I mean, hang up, Sarah. Like, why are you still on the phone? Like, literally hang up if that was real. But I didn't.
Oh my
so
gosh.
That's so funny. So when I started cold calling, I remember I had one where a guy was at his wedding. Right. And so, the recording was, he picks up and he's like,
hey, I'm getting married.
What's up, man? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting married right now. And like goes through a whole thing. He tells his groomsmen to like put on his bow tie, like go through a whole thing. And I was on the phone for like 5 minutes, man. And then, because I mean, at that point in time, you're like, all right, I got this guy on the phone. I'm a new SDR. I
more
feel
like married to the job.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Married to the game. But yeah, no, that is so funny. Yeah.
You sure it wasn't a recording?
No, it was 100% a recording. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
That was real?
Oh, 100%. Oh, that would have been amazing.
I know.
Oh,
I thought it was real. I was like, wow, good for him. Married to the sales game. But yeah, these recordings, I don't know how people are setting them up, but smart by you.
I was like, we need to do a skit where I get like 100 cold calls a day.
I'm sure you do.
We need to set up a whole like charade. We can get mics and have like the whole thing.
Oh, that would be amazing. Let's pipe it through. You know, we can
Twitch stream it. It'll be good.
Yep.
That'd be fun. That would be fun.
Oh man. So as we wrap up today, Sarah, if you could give the world out there any advice, it could be about influencer marketing, it could be about sales, it could be about life, whatever works. But we'd love some parting words from you.
Yeah. Post the video, post the post, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, just be true to yourself. It pays off just to be authentic and be really like having that human to human connection. Like everyone wants to just see you for you. And I think when you're putting up this wall and you're not allowing yourself to be really vulnerable, like people can feel that. So just like, don't be afraid to be yourself and do what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, if you're not doing what makes you happy, then you got to be doing something else because we only have a short time here, right? So, make yourself happy, do what's best for you. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. And yeah, just be yourself.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you for joining the podcast. We're super excited for what's next for you. To our audience out there, if you like the live in person, let us know. Reach out in the comments on social. Tell us who you want us to talk to next, and go check out Sarah's profile. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bye-bye. See y'all later.
Bye.
Yeah.